Hello, fellow Toolboxers. Welcome to episode number 379 of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. Today we're doing a great interview with a friend of mine, Genie Doi. You may know her. She's heavy in the video game space, doing O's and P's. And we're going to discuss, starting off with her practice, how she lives in Japan, has a global practice in that sense with a team in the US and operates it. It's the dream. She's doing it. And then we also get into how she managed her practice and O and P practice, the issue that exists, because she contributed a wonderful article, PB's a primer, many pages, more than was asked for. Is really kind of her. So if you're trying to learn P's, that's the place to go to. And she's a great mentor too. Check it out in the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine, issue number 9. That's out right now. Go to iltbox.com and you could see that right there, and a bunch of other articles that are really helpful for people doing immigration law or wanting to get into immigration law. Other than that, I wanted to let everyone know I'm going to be at the AILA conference this summer in June. I have a booth for the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, so please come by. I'd love to see you, take a photo with you, and get to know you, all the listeners in person. Every year when I come to conference, it's a real special event to see you all. And, if you're interested in getting part of the community, we have a free page on this website called circle.so. We have tons of free, guidance and white papers and community stuff. For example, I just released an EB1A breakdown for dancers. I took the last three AEO decisions on dancers, one from December 2024 and then two from January, February 2025. And I found consistencies in the issues people had, described it. It's really good for new people trying to learn EB1A, and it talks about what you won't expect. But also people doing it partially and stuff. It's always a good recap. Every time I'm going to do a new EB case, I like to read the AO decisions, think about them, because it helps me kind of align my head of what the government's looking for. And so I'm going to be doing more of these job title specific ones. And it's free. It's video. You can catch it on Toolbox Circle community page. Now, I did a layman's version of this on my law firm's JK Law page. I'd recommend going to the private community page one. Again, it's free as long as you're a practicing private attorney, because I go into more detail that's easier to talk to in a professional setting that's in a private gated area. So that's with that. Now, if you're interested in learning immigration law on the basics, getting involved in just getting the next level with mentorship, I have a course called the Ultimate Marriage Green Card course, which breaks down what our firm primarily is, a family-based practice. And it's, doing really well and gives me time to do these podcasts and focus on Toolbox and having, spending a week just to have a booth at the AILA conference. I teach how to do that. Constant processing and admissibility. It's a great course. I think it's really the best thing out there for you to get started in the immigration practice. Even if you've been practicing immigration law, it's good to go because we really go over the CFR, the statute, and we have many students in the course, colleagues that have been practicing 10 years. They get it because they listen to my stuff. They like how I do it, and they share it with their team as well. So if you're interested, email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. Having said that, without further ado, let's get it started. None of the information here is intended as individual legal guidance. Please consult with an immigration attorney about your case, but you all know that already. Let's get it started. Hi, Jeannie. Thanks so much for coming on the show again.
Hi, John. Always love catching up with you.
I appreciate it. For viewers who don't know, Jeannie, especially back in LA, we'd hang out more often, but she's on the show before, and you're in Japan now. Could you talk about how life is immigrating yourself, and also like how your firm functions internationally like that?
Yeah, so I moved to Japan like 2.5 years ago, post-pandemic, just for like personal reasons. My husband is Japanese, and when we first got, and I did his green card, his marriage adjustment, all that. But when we first got married, we always knew like at some point in our relationship, we were going to move our family back to his hometown to be closer to his parents because he's an only child and his
Mm-hmm.
parents are getting older. Um, so we made the move 2.5 years ago. Life has been great here, just in terms of like cost of living and culture, and it's just so safe. Like my kids can like walk to school by themselves. I see like 5-year-olds on the train like by themselves. So yeah, it's a really and I one thing I really love is I send my older son to international school, and just like being in this community of like in his class of like 12 kids. There's a kid from like Ghana, a kid from India, a kid from Australia, a kid from Hong Kong. Like it's just this really cool international community of kids. They've got their own little society, multicultural society. Um,
See.
yeah, so that's really cool. Running a business overseas, like obviously that was something I was, as a business owner and an attorney, something I was really worried about. But I have such a solid team. So I'm in Japan, but I've got two paralegal staff, and three attorneys in the United States, plus a administrative specialist based in the Philippines. And it's actually been really nice for me to be in Japan. Last summer, I was in LA the whole time, and like my staff like didn't like it. They're like, "We don't like it when you're online as the same hours of us as that's stressing us out."
Yeah.
Like our cadence right now is like since I'm like a day and a half ahead of them, my on my Monday, like I will for everyone else it's Sunday. And so my inbox is quiet. I'm not like putting out fires all day. I get
Yeah.
time to focus on like setting the direction of the firm for the week and kind of, being able to see everyone's workload and plan things out for the week. And then once once it's Monday in California and they start doing work, they basically have the day to do draft all of their cases, and then at the end of their day is when I come online and I can review all of their cases,
Mhm.
um, so that it's almost like a 24-hour firm. Like, they're on 9 to 5 and then I'm on 5 to midnight. So that by the time they wake up the next morning, like I've already reviewed the case, it's good to go. So I feel like it's almost like a benefit to our clients where we're not losing a day, a business day for me to like stop and review things because I'm doing it at night.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just can't stress the importance of just having this amazing team of like highly competent, team players, amazing work ethic, and above all, they're just like honest. They're just like I trust them with my life. Like seriously, I almost died 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I was, I had like an accident and I was in the ICU for 5 days, and at the time, like I was the only attorney on staff. And so I was like in the ICU, like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen to my clients? But my administrative staff just like banded together and they, called like my attorney friends and they're like, hey, Jeannie's in the hospital. Can you cover for her? And
Mhm.
um, I literally trust them with my life. So
That's wonderful. What's that technology you use to communicate and stay in touch with each other?
oh, Slack is probably like
Yeah.
the number one tool that we use. It's just like, fun being able to message each other all day, every day. That's where we do like our team meetings and our calls. It's really useful to like, we post links to like our Google Drive, where we can easily access and review, documents from there.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, and then other than Slack, like Google Suite, um, and yeah, but I would say Slack is probably the thing that we're on all the time, all day, every day.
Yeah, same here, same here. And I have Dropbox, but I'm making the switch slowly but surely to Google Drive myself. It's just
Mhm.
a little bit smoother. I didn't. A long story. I don't want to bore everybody, but yeah, it's just technology. They're kind of the same, but it's less expensive to do Google Drive, and it's more streamlined in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so Google Drive has like they're recently coming out with like a lot of features like, their Gmail AI, their Google
Hmm.
Meet like is really good. Um
Yeah, we stopped
we're
using Zoom
also
and just do Google Meets now too.
yeah, like, I don't want to I'm at the point in my life and my firm where I'm trying to simplify things,
Hmm.
right? And so the number of platforms, like the less I can use, the more I can streamline operations, the better. So yeah, we are trying to also consolidate our tech stack. Um, just try to keep things simple, especially for clients too. Like if they're having to jump around from like, okay, I got my contract in Dropbox, but then I'm uploading things to ShareFile, and like it's
Yeah.
just confusing for them too. So if I can set up like a one-stop shop for everything, then I think it's easier for clients and for the firm.
Now, your firm is primarily employment based. O and P,
Mhm.
is that the majority of your cases?
Yeah, so we do a lot of O's, P's, EB1A's, um, and actually a lot more family immigration, as you can imagine, with the new administration. A lot of people, maybe before they would DIY a marriage adjustment or
Yeah.
DIY like sponsoring their mom or their dad, but there's just, more afraid now. And so definitely since the new administration, we've seen a spike in family-based cases.
Yeah, definitely here too. Booming like doubled up how it's working. Yeah, people are on the fence about it. Like, let's get a lawyer. And it really helps out because they could do it on their own, but they make errors that ends up costing like a
Yeah,
year of time. And it's like, how do you put a value to a year of time of not being
yeah.
with your loved one? So, for really ridiculous mistakes people make,
Mhm.
but it's so complicated to do this paperwork. It's just even for us, every time they change the I-485 or the DS-260 gets I-64 gets weird. They change the forms without telling anybody. It's this ridiculous kind of
Yeah,
situation. What have you seen? I know you did a fantastic article. I mean, I asked for an article for the magazine, Toolbox magazine. You wrote like a treatise on it. I'm doing P visa, so I really appreciate that. So people want to get involved with P's, this is the place to go to issue number 9. Well, have you seen any changes and adjudications yet in the O and P space, or is that shoe not fallen yet?
absolutely. Like, I feel so bad, for my staff. Like, we get these ridiculous, like, nonsensical RFEs. Like, you
Mhm.
can truly see that internally there was probably some sort of memo that went out about extra vetting, and it's like, "Hey, if you don't send out more RFEs, this is gonna affect your job, like, your
Yeah.
job security." So we're getting RFEs on like really, really inane issues, like, requesting documents that we already submitted, or, contesting a lot of the documents that we submitted, um, saying that, for example, we submitted, they acknowledge receipt of like, yeah, we've got 2 testimonial letters and like 10 media articles, explaining that you had, um, explaining like your critical role for this organization, but like they'll add things. So we've been noticing this a lot where they will just make up requirements that aren't in the
Yeah.
regulations. And so I tell my staff, double check the regs. If the regs do not ask for a resume of the writer, um, we don't owe it to them. And,
Mhm.
tell them what they're doing is unconstitutional, like, legislating when they're not, when they're the executive. They're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, a lot of the
So,
lawsuits are it's ultra virus stuff are happening. It was happening
yeah.
last time around Trump, and it's coming back, and it's a major headache. That's one reason I stopped doing it for a bit because it was like way too much work doing this. But someone's got to fight them back when it comes to craziness.
Yeah, and so I tell my clients now whenever we, even if it's a solid, like, slam dunk O1, I'll tell them, like, "You've got a really solid case, but you have to understand we're in a different, like, political environment now, and so, there is this chance your case might get denied, but don't worry, like, we will sue them and we will win because, you have a, black and white, like, approvable case."
Yeah,
But yeah, we're seeing really strange RFEs, kitchen sink RFEs, um, that you can tell that the officer's heart is not really behind it. Like, the issues are not substantive. Sometimes they're literally just like copy and paste. You'll see like the wrong gender pronouns. Like, we
hmm
just got an RFE for a female client, and then the pronouns that they use throughout the RFE are him. And so we're like, okay, well, like, this guy obviously, like, the officer clearly
yeah.
is just, you know, like, trying to generate as many RFEs, like, copy paste as possible. Um, but it's just really stressful for the client, even though we know as the attorney, like, this is just, not a substantive RFE and we just need to respond to it. For the clients, that anxiety of like,
Yeah.
what if I don't know what's going to happen to my case? It's another 15 business days where they have to, like, have nightmares and live in limbo.
Now, I think about the practitioner side too. Is like it really messes up your schedule because like, oh, it's an easy case, then it dumps like 10 hours of work on your lap for an RFE response. You're like, I have 50 other things I got to do. Now I got to do this RFE. When you're doing it, it's like there's rage involved in it because you're like, this is so
Yeah,
stupid. So
yeah,
it's like,
yeah. So it's really funny, like, I tell my attorneys, like, "Let out your rage, like, release the Kraken, like, into your initial draft, um, and then, like, leave it alone for a couple days, and then come back to it when you're, like, calmed down." And so for RFE responses, we go through a lot of revisions, like, not just, with the attorneys, but, like, I'll review it and I'll say, like, "Okay, you sound a little too angry here, like, you're really
yeah,
gonna piss off an officer, with this line here." And so we, um very carefully craft, but I do let my staff, I'm like, you need to let out that anger and that tension. Like, you can use swear words if it, in draft one if it helps you. Because yeah, some of them are really infuriating.
It's like lack of professionalism on their part. Even if they want to send stuff, like you mentioned one part where will state like, okay, you sent this is document. I've had it where they said you sent this is this, and then the next paragraph would be like, you didn't send us any documents, and it's like
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
internal inconsistency. Did you even
Yes.
read their RFE? And so you know that
Yes.
it's nonsense. So
Mhm.
I would be used to when I get really frustrated. I would just say like, can you even read? I would say like really condescending stuff, and there my clients like would be like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, at this point, I don't give a damn because it's like last Trump administration. I was like, this is like
John!
embarrassing. So yeah, I'd go hard. I would hit him, and then like I just stopped doing it because I'm like, this is no. So I stopped doing it for years now. I just get back into it. And actually, I did this NIW, and like I wrote some harsh stuff. My client read it. He's like, "Can we pull this back?" I'm like, "Okay, it's too soon for me to be this aggressive. I will pull it back." But it's so ridiculous where it's like have some respect. I mean, we're professionals. Like even if you're gonna say stupid things, at least read what you said or put it together
Yeah.
way. Make it look nicer so it's not as ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, I mean, your firm is booming. I mean, a multinational firm right now. You're in Japan, and you're able to make it hang, even with the time zones being different. Right now, recording is like what 7 a.m. your time, 3 p.m. Pacific time. How often do you come back to the U.S.?
Um, I generally spend the summers in Los Angeles so that, like, my kids can, spend time with my parents,
Mhm.
um, and so that they don't, like, forget English and stuff. So, I would say in total, like, I'm in the United States, like, maybe, like, 2 months out of the year. We're back for summers, we're back for, a couple weeks during Christmas. We go to, Hawaii and for spring break. Um, but aside from, like, shuttling my kids, between families, I am in the United States, like, if my client wants me personally to represent them at an interview, I will go. Like, I think I went to 2 adjustment interviews last year, um,
Well, they're coming
and
back now. I'm getting daily
I
adjustment interviews being scheduled.
I know. Actually I'm speaking at a conference, the Video Game Bar Association, in a
Oh,
couple of
neat.
weeks, and then I'll be seeing you in Denver at the ALA conference
For sure.
in at the end of June. So I go back for business, I would say, like, 2, 3 times a year.
The Video Game Bar Association. That's interesting. Is that newer?
Oh, no, Video Game Bar Association has been around, like, extremely reputable, bar association. They have, um they have global events. The one I'm speaking at is their LA summit, but they've got conferences on the East Coast. Sometimes they'll have conferences in, Japan or in Europe. But there is a huge group of attorneys who, strictly focused on, digital interactive media like video games, as you can imagine, like in-house counsel for companies like Sony and Blizzard, or publishers or IP attorneys. And video game attorneys, like, we specifically experience like a very unique set of problems that's different from like entertainment law or transactional law.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's a really fun group. And like I'm a member of the Video Game Bar Association. There's also the Esports Bar Association, which is like an esports is like a niche within video gaming because it's like competitive video gaming. And there are also unique laws and a body of law like related to esports as well.
How with these conferences? How big a chunk of it is immigration, or is it just like a because
I'm I'm just like a speck amongst like all these IP, and transactional attorneys. So I'm actually speaking on like their labor and employment panel. Probably most of the labor employment is going to have to do with like wage and hour and things like
yeah.
that. But
You should have your own
definitely,
panel at this point. Yeah, it's just
I
like
know,
you talking.
I know, with the new administration, and especially in video games, like there's so much international travel. Like, all these companies are multinational.
Mhm.
Um, And so I think they wanted an immigration perspective. Because yeah, I mean, I get inquiries from like US citizens saying like, "Hey, I have got a business trip, to like
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia. Do you think it's safe for me to go and come back?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, if you're a US citizen, like you're gonna come back. But if you're a green card holder, like there's no guarantee right now that you're not gonna be detained at the border."
Yeah, that's I've been getting a lot of those calls for people and just people come to visit family. Like I have clients going through a marriage adjustment. And she got pregnant, ended up having a baby, and she's like, "Can my mom come?" I'm like, "Well, she's German. Like, she doesn't say anything about Hamas." So she's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, then you're good to go." But it's like always a nervousness when it comes to it. Yeah, I'm in Southern California as well, and my office is in Brentwood, which people nationally might not know, but like it's next to Santa Monica, and a lot of the gaming companies are there. So a big chunk of my clients are like people who got their green cards through work, and they're going through naturalization. Actually, like people in sound editing, video editing, all this kind of stuff. These like behind the scenes kind of work for these large video gaming companies. It's a lot of LPRs and people are
Mhm,
just working behind the scenes on the tech side of that.
mhm.
So, what is the game plan? I mean, you got a firm that's growing. We were talking earlier, so this is kind of like a maybe one more team member, and then this is a solid block. That you want to keep it at.
Um, I just I wasn't planning on like growing my firm or like hiring any more people like beyond like my initial team of like 3 people. Um, but just like the business and the demand, grows. And for me, like when I find people, like when I love mentoring, young attorneys. And when I talk to them and I can identify like this fire or like something in them, I want to like train them. I want to like hone them into like, amazing attorneys because I see the potential. And maybe it's my ego, but I'm like, you know what? I don't trust any other attorney to train you. It has to be me.
Yeah.
And so when I meet these young women who are just like, amazing and stellar and have amazing values, I just kind of have to hire them. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take you, I'm going to take you, I'm going to take you, and we're going to be like, you're going to be my minions, and I'm going to train you to be like the best attorneys, immigration attorneys on the planet. And so when I see talent, when I identify talent, like I just feel like I have to nurture it. Um, so I don't want to hire any more people just because like, with growing a firm, it's just like a lot more pressure. But I can't promise that like if I run into like, if I go to the conference and I meet an amazing law student, like I might just be like, okay, you know what, I want you too. So um but yeah, I guess the plan is, at this point in my career, like I have, I'm at my 10th year in. I just have so much knowledge and just kind of experience that I want to give to these new attorneys. Like, and I apologize to them all the time. Like, I'm so sorry that your first experience in immigration law is with the Trump administration,
Yeah.
but like you're going to gain so much experience over the next 4 years that then the rest of your career is going to be like cake.
Hmm.
So I just want to teach a lot, and I'm actually using a lot of your videos and your resources
Yeah.
to train them, but especially now, when we're litigating cases and we have to fight back against immigration and call them out when they're taking unconstitutional actions, it's really important to have like a solid legal education and kind of like the will and the fire to fight back and not just roll over and say like, oh, sorry, client, like we can't help you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the goal right now is to just, keep doing solid work, training my team to, fight back with the law, and also connect with more attorneys like yourself. Like I'm taking my whole team to AC 25 because I really think it's so important during, these difficult times to just connect with other
Yeah.
attorneys, see what they're experiencing, talk to them, get new inspiration, get new ideas, learn about new software technologies that's out there that's going to help our clients. Um, so yeah, I think it's hard right now, but I think the focus just has to be on the clients. Like as afraid as we might be as practitioners, like our clients, must feel like extra helpless, and so we have to be, extra courageous for them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's it. Well, that's gonna be good that you bring the conference. Just got to make sure they go out and talk to people and take advantage of it. It's a magical experience that they put through. You're an immigration lawyer. It's like going to Disneyland almost. And so it's like,
Yeah,
oh, everyone's talking about immigration law. Everyone else thinks it's boring, but for us, it's like the most interesting thing.
yeah. Mhm.
Awesome, Jeannie. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Good to see you again. I'm glad this was an excuse for us to catch up. And thanks again for publishing the article and contributing the article to the magazine. If people want to reach out to you, what's the best way they can do that?
They can just email me. If you email team, TEAM, at Avocet Law, it'll get to me. And then again, I always love talking to, law students, young attorneys, new practitioners, or even experienced practitioners. If you want to, like, pick my brain about a denial or an RFE that you got, I love those conversations.
Well, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Well, thanks, Jeannie. I'd stay on the line
Thanks,
for a
Tom.
second, but I'll say goodbye, team. Thanks everyone for watching. Well, thank you so much for listening to that. Genie is wonderful. I wish I had more time. I had a consultation popping up right after I recorded that, so I had to leave. But I wanted to talk with her, pick her brain a lot. She's really open in her conversations. It's just really neat having people like that. There's a thing about Los Angeles immigration lawyers that's like that really helpful community over here. But if you can't do it in person, then the online stuff works. Join our community page on circle.is. So email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com with your name and bar number so you get you on that. And again, I'll be in Colorado for the national conference. The Toolbox has a vendor spot, a sponsorship with a booth. Yeah, that's the word. We got a nice corner booth, pay a little bit more, so we have more exposure. Everybody, it's gonna be a lot of fun talking and seeing you out there. Well, having said that, until next one, have a good one.